went and visited my nephew. I was like, we're doing tummy time today. And he did great. But yeah, it's literally the foundation.
Hello and welcome back to the Wellbeing. My name is Madison.
My name is Rachel.
And I'm Sydney.
Yay! I'm really excited. Today we're talking about baby things.
Yay, this has been a long time coming, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely has. I don't know why we haven't done this before.
I don't know. It feels like a good time though.
Yeah, like once a month I'm like, okay, what are the topics we're going to talk about? And then for some reason, babies don't come up even though it's literally your job. I don't know. We've done migraine for 3 parts. I don't know why we did 2 babies before. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it relates not to I mean, everybody knows a baby or probably has a baby
Mm-hmm.
life to some capacity. So it might be
Totally.
helpful for everybody, but it's also like a little bit off of our normal thread of what we talk about.
That's true, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I think it's
Yeah.
important. Do you want to talk about why you know these things about babies and why Sydney's here?
Yeah. So everyone, my name's Rachel. You probably know this from listening to our podcast. And then I have Sydney here with me, and we own a company called Baby Fit, which I feel like we've briefly mentioned before, but you can check us out on Instagram. We have tons of free tips, so many free handouts, all the things that you could ever need for a 0 to 18 month old growth and development. But basically, my background is I'm a physical therapist like Maddie, but instead of going into the vestibular world and dizziness and all the things to do with the brain and like crazy hard things, I went into pediatrics. And so I specialize especially in like birth to three, but used to work with kids like 0 to 18 years old, with all types of different developmental disorders like Down syndrome, like chromosomal disorders, just early births, like kids that were in the NICU for weeks and weeks and weeks, just like all the crazy different things that you've never heard of, with kids working on development and gross motor skills. And that is how I met my friend slash coworker slash co-CEO, Sydney, was through a home health agency, where we shared a lot of the same patients. And we joke that we were trauma bonded because it's like if you've ever worked home health, especially like, I mean, adult or pediatrics, if you've ever worked home health, you know what it's like to go into a patient's home and how difficult it can be, how many like different experiences you can have with that are quite shocking. So yeah, me and Sydney are trauma bonded, but basically my background is in physical therapy. So when you think about that, it's like gross motor skills, movement, like tummy time, rolling, crawling, and it all overlaps. But Sydney has a different background, and I'll let you explain yours.
I'm first going to interrupt you and say
Oh,
that you said that what I do is allegedly super hard. I don't know how you do your job. So
I don't know how you do.
very hard. Also, do not belittle that. Okay, Sydney, go.
So I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. So I work with birth to 18 months, but through our company Baby Fit specialized in birth to three. But that's a lot of like sensory processing, fine motor, grasp development, coordination. We also overlap a lot into gross motor as well. So that's where me and Rachel really started co-treating, collaborating, and that's how we came up with Baby Fit.
Yeah, it's been very cool because before we met, I think I was very like one-sided with how things should be done. And like as a PT, I'm very like task oriented. Like we're gonna get through this whole task in this one session and we're gonna move and it's gonna be awesome. And Sydney's like, yes, but like we can do all these other things in the meantime to like make it easier, make it more fun, or like, yeah, just have it be like more of a better sensory
Yeah, meet the kid
experience.
where they're at
Yeah.
and then add little challenges. It helps reduce tears too, which is
Yes.
nice.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So we found by working together and collaborating, we just like achieved so much more progress with our kids. And that's basically why we came together to create like an overlapping thought and program like Baby Fit. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you have a baby,
Okay.
They develop very, very
They
fast.
do.
And they're all different. Like I have a lot of friends who have babies who are 0 to, I'd say, 8 months old. And every single one is literally on their own timeline. Like
Mhm.
some of them are rolling at 10 or 11 weeks. Some of them are not sitting until they're 6 or 7 months. How do you, from both of your like experiences, how do you first distinguish like what's normal and what's quote maybe not so normal or needs to get maybe looked at?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think milestones are kind of intimidating and scary because literally from like 0 to 18 months, which is what we focus on, just like basically coming out and starting tummy time and lifting your head all the way to taking first steps, which they should be doing by 18 months. Like that is a direct cutoff. There's like, that's insane, right? Like your baby can't even turn their head side to side when they're born. This like continuously amazes me. They can't even turn their head like side to side. Like they can't lift their head. And then between a year and a year and a half later, they literally are walking. Like they're taking steps on 2 feet. Like name one thing that we as adults can progress in that quickly. Like it just doesn't exist. It's insane. And so I think one thing that we always talk about too with milestones is that there's always windows and there's always like pre-medical or whatever your history is pre-birth or like your birth story or basically like post birth, if there's any complications, like anything, like say they were born 4 weeks early, like, yes, that has an effect on their milestone windows. Like, I would expect a baby that was born 4 weeks early to be kind of like 4 weeks earlier than they seem according to their age. So you'd want to adjust for that age. And then the other thing that we always take into account is like, how is, how are they doing like with sleep and nutrition? Like, for instance, if your baby has a really hard time with like reflux, like they're not going to tolerate tummy time. And tummy time is such a strong foundation for anything going like the next skill, like crawling and walking and anything like feeding, like down the line. So to answer your question, I could go on and on about this. Every baby is different. They all have external factors, every like that you should take into account. And that's why there's windows that exist for when these skills should be met. There's a few that are like hard and fast rules of like when to be concerned if your baby isn't doing XYZ by this age. And we can definitely get into those a little bit deeper. Like for instance, like the one that you think of that should always warrant a therapy referral is if your baby isn't walking by 18 months, then that's like really a sign of delay and they probably just need some extra help. But Sydney and I, yes, those are like the hard and fast rules, but Sydney and I talk a lot about like before even getting to that point. Like I would love for our baby to be, if they're not walking by 15 months, like to have that referral around 15 months so that they have like 3 extra months to catch up or like get the help that they need to do it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
and I
took that question. So
well, and I think for us too, there's like a whole picture perspective too, of like we go in and we both get our eyes on the kiddo to kind of see like are we missing gaps? Are there things here, skills that if they're doing this for Rachel, they should be doing X, Y, and Z for me. But if those things are missing, are we compensating? Is there an underlying issue present? And so that's where it's every kid's a little bit different, but you can look at each kid individually and be like, that's a delay because we have gaps in these certain areas. And that's where it really kind of takes that dual perspective to really see the whole picture versus just seeing like one piece of the puzzle.
That makes sense. So like if a kid is, let's say, not walking by 18 months, but they can like pull the stand and do some other stuff from like a gross motor skill perspective. I have a very limited peds PT knowledge. But what other things from an OT perspective do you think that you would be looking for to be like, maybe it's a sensory problem or maybe it's something that like I wouldn't see? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I actually, one thing I look a lot at when it comes to gross motor is play skills. Like, are their play skills delayed? And a lot of times the answer is yes. Like, if they're not at a place cognitively where they're playing with toys, that are age appropriate for them, then a lot of times they're not at a place where they're really wanting to explore their environment, which automatically hinders movement. Because if they're not motivated by everything around them to move around, then why would they? And so a lot of times those play skills really delay gross motor movement.
Yeah. So like a good example of this is like if sometimes babies will get stuck in sitting. So like sitting is a 6 to 7 month old milestone. And usually around like 7 or 8 months, we start working on placement toys, which is like a coin in a piggy bank or like something like that. And so from my perspective, if I'm working on sitting towards 7 to 8 months, I want them to start transitioning out of sitting and into like a crawling position. But if they're stuck in sitting, from my perspective, I'm like, okay, like why won't they move? Like why don't they want to get out? And a lot of times it's because their play skills are behind. They're not motivated to like cognitively grab the coin and then put it in the piggy bank. So that's like one example where it's not them just not moving, it's them not being motivated to play with the toy in order to move like they should and progress.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
And it feels like kids have so many toys that maybe they're overwhelmed by the number of things around them.
Yes, I definitely think one toy at a time, or it doesn't even have to be a toy. Like you can even have them like throw silverware into a container. I mean, that can be considered a placement toy. So there's lots of ways to do it, but there's definitely research out there with like visual overstimulation, with having too many things becoming overwhelming. And so there's a lot behind just having one thing out at a time or reducing like how many things you have out. And that really helps your baby to like be able to focus on that one thing and problem solve how it works and learn cause and effect and all of those skills that they need to help with their motor skills too.
That makes a lot of sense. So then backing it up from walking or sitting, can you explain what tummy time is? I feel like that is all over the internet and obviously it's important, but can you explain what that is and how much you're actually supposed to do? Because you're like, it's crazy. They can't hold their neck up and then all of a sudden they can. Like, what does that look like from both your perspectives?
Yes, this is my favorite subject because we each have our own goals for like if we both wrote a goal for a baby to do tummy time, they're backed up by completely different like functional reasons. Like it is literally the foundation of everything, movement, and just like sensory behavioral, like literally everything. So basically you can start doing, unless your doctor or your pediatrician says not to, you can start doing tummy time the day you come home. You probably need a few days to like chill and relax. Unless you're crazy and you're like me, like when I went and visited my nephew, I was like, we're doing tummy time today. And he did great. But yeah, it's literally the foundation. So basically, when your baby is born, they've been curled up in your uterus, like in a C shape forever, right? So when they come out, they're still kind of in that C shape, like they're kind of used to being scrunched up. So one of the things that tummy time helps do is get them to spread out and extend at their spine, which is huge. And so, and that goes from newborn all the way up to like 6 months when they start pushing up on their arms. And as they push up through their arms in tummy time, like that gives them your cervical extension. So like the curves that you have in your spine at your cervical spine and your lumbar spine are from tummy time. Like crazy. I don't know. This nerds me out like all the time. I think it's so crazy. Like which is so cool. Like it just has lasting effects forever. So yeah, obviously like anatomically it's super important for development of like the normative curves in your spine, super important for strengthening your neck and then being able to lift their head up, pushing through their arms, that scapular strength between their shoulder blades, all of these things too, like from a strengthening and anatomical like perspective, stretching out the front of their hips, right? Because they've been like curled in. They just basically set your baby up for every other skill that they will accomplish. So like rolling, crawling, feeding, and sitting because they gain all that strength from tummy time. So it's just, I think the hard part too is that if you don't start out doing enough tummy time, it might be fine, but also if you don't start out doing enough, you won't really know it until they start missing some big milestones like crawling.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be like, okay, well, they're not strong enough to do that yet. Or like they haven't developed some of the things that like Sydney will talk about from her perspective with tummy time. So it's like, it's so, so important because you almost have to keep up with it, but you don't see the huge effects of it until like 7, 8, 10, 12. Now they're like 15 months not walking. Like it'll just have effects later down the road.
Yeah. And not always, but a lot of times it can lead to fussiness when people do try to put their baby in tummy time, because then they just do like this flip and your baby's vestibular system is just not used to that. They go from a lot of babies being supine the entire time to just like, here we go. And it elicits tears. And then parents like, oh, they hate it and pick them up really quick. And it can just, the whole thing can kind of get messy if you're not doing it consistently. But there's also a lot of benefits with like upper body strengthening and stabilization through the shoulders too, because they really start to like push themselves up, and it's through their forearms and then arms extended. And that plays a huge role when it comes to crawling. A lot of families that we've worked with, their kid will start to get their knees up under them for crawling, but then their arms collapse. And sometimes this is reflexive, but it also can be like that strength of just not working on that tummy time and really getting them to be able to like support and stabilize themselves in that position. And then from a visual perspective too, that's how they develop depth perception. And so a lot of times kids that skip crawling and don't do a lot of tummy time, I've treated in clinics later on that have difficulty with stairs or changes in surfaces going from like concrete to grass and things like that, where they'll have a lot of trips and falls and poor coordination.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about all my patients who hate to transfer services. Like maybe adult tummy
tell me
time
that?
coming out.
Not all of them,
coming
but
at
it
you.
is definitely a question I ask. I'm like,
Yeah.
did you crawl?
Yeah.
Did you crawl?
Yeah.
Mhm. My
Yeah.
sister didn't crawl,
She didn't.
but
I found out I didn't either.
Cindy.
No. Yeah.
That's so
Thanks,
funny.
Mom.
Devastating.
It is.
It's
No, it's fine.
Changed my motor planning.
Okay. But yeah. Yeah.
This many years later,
Yeah.
heartbroken and crushed at home. Because she got around in like a weird way. She looks like a baby monster. Hopefully she doesn't listen to this, but yeah, like a butt scooting figure 4 situation, but she never crawled.
Yes.
Yeah, she hated it. Okay, so that makes sense. So from a behavioral perspective though, what can tummy time impact? Because I heard you say that and now I know you're good at behavior, so I'm very
Oh yeah, like the crying.
confused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they're that young, behavior only exists for a function. Like there's a reason behind it. Like there's no such thing as like manipulation tactics or whatever people try to like
Yeah.
put
Like
on
being
their baby.
stubborn or like,
Yes.
like they're not
Like
doing that to
every
you.
behavior exists for a reason, and it's like a way of communication. And so a lot of times these like really abrupt movements can still be so startling for babies. Even just the act of like putting them down quickly and letting their head dip faster than their body can elicit that startle reflex, which tears happen. So we definitely take the approach and tell parents like you're gonna be so much more successful if you can lay baby down like you would on the floor and spend so much time on the floor, but then just turn them to their side and let them play on their side for a while. Then transition them to their belly. Just very like slow movements and really work their way into it will help reduce those tears, because that would be a lot. Like if someone were to take me and just flip me onto my stomach, that might scare me too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
100%. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it only counts when they're awake, right? Someone the other day was like, well, they lay on my chest all day. And I'm like, well, they're probably asleep most of the day. They're like
Yeah,
3
you
months
have to
old.
be actively engaging
Yeah.
those muscles.
Yeah. Because you really want them
Okay.
to like start pushing through their arms and lifting their head up. And the perfect way to start is on your chest. So that's like A+ work right there. But that they're most motivated to like look at mom's face and like faces when they're newborns and young. So that is the best way to start for sure.
And a couple
That
times
makes
of like intentional tummy time versus just laying on their tummy all day and sleeping is going to go a lot further.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and we don't want to sleep on our tummies.
No.
When you're that little. You can sleep on your
No.
stomach if you're an adult.
No.
Do whatever you want. But yeah, when you're little. Don't
Yeah.
sit on your stomach.
No.
Yep.
Okay, so then if we're talking about moving our neck and head, what if someone has, or a baby is like, I only want to look to one side? I know there's like torticollis and plagiocephaly, which is when your head is flat. What type of things can you do to prevent them? I remember I went to high school with this girl who played on my soccer team who could like lay her head like this against a wall and it was totally flat.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
wow.
One part. She had to like tilt it a little bit, but like it was flat in the back.
Oh.
I know. She's like, I hope I never go bald.
Yeah,
That's what she always said.
Yeah.
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 But what is that? Are they related? What do we do?
Yeah. So a head rotation preference can be due to a number of different things. Usually, kids who have a flat spot on their head, it's due to having a head rotational preference or having like a tight spot in their sternocleidomastoid muscle, which is what torticollis is. So you can have torticollis without a flat spot or plagiocephaly, or or you can have torticollis in addition to plagiocephaly. But usually having torticollis will be causation of plagiocephaly because they're holding their head in a position, the same position almost throughout the whole day. And because as babies, they still have really malleable skulls, their fontanelles haven't closed yet. That is why it will kind of adapt to that flat spot. Like if us three as adults laid on our side all day for like a month, we wouldn't, our skulls wouldn't change shape. It's just, it doesn't happen. But at that age, they're not fully formed yet. So that's why you will have like some flat spots that could form. The good news is they can unform, right? So like they should go back to the normal shape if you are changing their position of their head and addressing the root cause of the problem, which is like the tight neck muscles. If head rotation preference doesn't always mean that they have tight neck muscles or torticollis or like will result in a flat spot on their head. Sometimes it's just a preference. Sometimes it's something to do with vision, which I'll probably let you talk about that. And like lack of awareness of midline. Sometimes it's just due to positioning that they're in throughout the day. Like maybe in while you're sleeping in your bed, you have them in a bassinet next to you. And so they always turn to look at you all night because they're, like they want to be close to mom. And so they spend a lot of time in that position and then they just develop a preference with that. So a few things that we recommend too is like switching up which way their head faces in the bassinet every night or every few nights or whatever to make sure they're looking both directions. And like when you change their diaper, just like switch which way you place them. Obviously, if you're feeding, breastfeeding or bottle feeding, you can switch sides as much as you can. And that's pretty normal too. But yeah, I'll let you talk about
The
vision. Yeah.
Yeah. And the vision typically isn't the cause, but it can be something that happens like as a result of. So a lot of times if a kiddo has like a side preference and they're always kind of tilted to that side, they're going to start to develop that as their new midline. And that's where it starts to get tricky because then their eyes will continue to track as if that were midline. And so you want to make sure that you're giving them opportunities to really kind of get their head in the middle and lay their head in midline, or really work on these positional changes to help correct that early on because it can impact vision. And there are some people that do kind of, when they're focusing on something, they do kind of tilt their head. And I do think that's where a lot of that comes from too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's hard to, like, if somebody asked me about a rotational preference, like, I would recommend that they go get an eval or like go get fully evaluated just to test and see, like, what is it? Is it due to a tight neck muscle? Is it just preference? Like, what is going on? Because it's tough to tell without like actually getting your hands and like eyes on them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And if you just, it sounds like you're saying if you notice your baby just likes to look to one side and not the other side, it's just worth getting checked out.
Yeah. And like,
sure. Because it's something that can, if you're putting the work in and you have somebody who's there to help advise you, like another therapist or a pediatrician or whatnot, it is something that can be corrected pretty quickly.
Yes, especially at that age because they make so much progress so quickly.
So it's definitely worth getting looked at.
But
that makes sense.
Things that you can do to prevent or address if you're noticing it and it's like not super significant, like say they still have full range of motion looking the other way, or say
Mm-hmm.
they'll look the other way, but they just don't like to. Like some things that you could
Mm-hmm.
do is, first of all, I would not put them in any containers besides a car seat, and like
Mm-hmm.
spend like, obviously put them in a car seat in the car. That is
Mhm.
super, like that is safe. But then when you get home, even if they're sleeping, like I would take them out and put them on a flat surface and a safe
Mm-hmm.
sleeping surface. Like pack and play, bassinet, or crib. Those are like safe sleeping spots for your baby.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd get rid of anything that's like a swing, anything like a bouncer. First of all, those aren't safe to sleep in. Second of all, like if you don't have head strength and control, you can't, like your baby won't be able to hold their head in that midline positioning that Sydney was talking about. Like they're naturally going to like flop like this. Like it's just going to happen. So I'd get rid of all of those. Other things you can do is practice lots of side lying, because naturally when they're on their side, they're holding their head in midline, which is perfect. And then you can practice like with black and white cards or with your face, just getting them to practice like rotating the opposite way by visual tracking. And those all work really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And lots of tummy time, always.
Always tummy time. Okay, so I don't want to run out of time. I know we have some hard stops. So I am curious about, like, some people will say, like, I don't have time to like practice these different these gross motor skills, or these not gross motor skills, other motor skills. Wow, my brain
Yeah.
today.
No, you're right. All
Yeah,
the skills.
I don't have
Yeah.
time to practice all of these skills with my baby, and like they're just going to develop the way they develop, and they've been doing it for billions of years. Why should we actually practice these things? Like, why is something like baby fit important? Um, why should we be practicing with our kids?
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
think this is a great question, because we get a lot of people commenting on things that we post, like why
Just let
my
them
babies
be.
grew up just fine, like you're pushing your baby too much. And our sole purpose behind Baby Fit is to empower and inform parents. Like we're not trying to create like these like strengths, like mega babies that are like athletes. Like our purpose is for parents who don't know what they're doing. There's a million things going on in their life that they're trying to keep up with, to give them like a resource that is from people who have clinical experience. All of our information is backed up by research. Like everything that we provide is safe. So that is our main purpose behind Baby Fit.
Yes.
Obviously.
And I think like just having that clinical experience, we've gotten so many questions over the years of like, why is my child doing this? And you can tie it back to early developmental years.
Mhm.
And so really a lot of this was like, hey, well, what if we can give this knowledge to parents that they don't have access to unless unless they had a child that needed services, and really help them get
Mhm.
everything foundationally started so that later on they're not having to show up at a clinic and have all these questions about their kid and be concerned. And we really just wanted to offer parents peace of mind, because that first year and a half of development is huge. And so if
Yeah.
we can provide that guideline for people, and we do try to keep it like, for the people that want to do all the things, we have all the things. For the people that only want to do one, you can pick one.
Yeah.
Or even for the people that want to do nothing, just let your child develop. That's a lot of where we come in with like
Yeah.
just don't use containers. If you want them to just do everything on their own, just put them in a playpen or a bassinet where they
Just
can move and
switch.
do these things. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's, so everybody
Fits
can find at
everybody.
least some kind of use out of it.
And compared
Totally.
to like when we were kids, or like even when our parents were kids, there's like two major changes in society that have happened. And one is Back to Sleep campaign. As babies, all of us, I think all of us slept on our stomachs. And so that was like kind of like built in tummy time. Like we all like Back to Sleep. I can't remember what year it was, but it was after all of us. Just barely, but all of us probably slept on our stomachs. So we all got like tummy time. We also weren't put in a position, since we slept like that, where we were developing flat spots on our heads, because we weren't doing that for like 8 hours a night, or 12 to 16 hours a day at first when they're sleeping all the time. So that's a huge difference that's affecting like this next generation and wave of babies and like having more effects on like torticollis and flat spots on their head. And then the second one that's huge is this introduction of containers. And like I could talk about containers for 100,000 years, but this is new.
There's a lot of them.
There's so many. And then compare that with social media where influencers, and this is no hate to any parent because you don't know what the facts are. And so if you see like somebody using a container on, and by container, I mean like a swing or like a bouncer or basically anything that you put your baby in that restricts their head movement or arm movement or anything at all. These are newer to us. And like having so many and registering for so many is newer. Like this is a new wave thing. And they look pretty and they look aesthetic and they look like a safe place for your baby. So
and they always show pictures of a baby really happy and and they put they attach all these toys and all of these things to them to make them enticing.
And then as a parent, you're like, I need to buy that to like provide for my baby and be a good parent. So those in my opinion are the two biggest things that are different from how we were raised that weren't present like as an issue at all. Like where maybe we didn't need as much like coaching or like information of like how to help. And so
okay, back it up for like 30 seconds. Back to sleep campaign. We're supposed to put babies on their back to sleep, correct?
Correct.
But we all slept on our stomachs, question mark. I was talking to someone in their 60s about this the other day, and they're like, oh yeah, we put every baby on their stomach to sleep. So that is an increased SIDS risk, but
they found it to be,
we were supposed to do it before, but not anymore.
We still don't know what causes SIDS 100%.
Yes.
But they found that babies who slept on their back versus on their tummy had a lower incidence. So that's where like the back to sleep campaign came, where now everybody switched from sitting on their tummy to sleeping on their back. Yeah.
Got it. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And like it all changes.
When someone was like, oh yeah, I put all my kids to sleep on their stomach, I was like, excuse yourself? What?
Yes.
But I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, all of our parents did too.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. And it's good to know about the containers too, because it's just not.
They're confusing.
They are, and they're everywhere. Yeah. People tell you have to have them.
Yeah, they're like, put your 4-month-old in a standing position with wheels on it and let them like tiptoe around. Like that's
not good for their hips.
The worst idea. And cognitively, like your baby isn't like cognitively at a place where they should be able to move like that. And that fast. Like this is where accidents happen.
And you need that motivation for them to progress to the next gross motor. So if you're constantly standing them up, they're going to cry for you to stand them up, versus like if you go through the chain of progression of gross motor skills, their next movement would be getting themselves up on their hands and knees. And so a lot of times when we see families skip a milestone, it is really hard to get their kid to go back and do it, because they're like, why?
Yeah, why would I do that?
Why would I do that? I've already passed that. And so
we're messing with evolution.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, if you are interested in this and you have more questions for you guys, where do we find you?
Yes, so you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on TikTok, where I'm trying.
I've seen that.
But mostly Instagram. And we also have a website, thebabyfitproviders.com. And then we have our own interactive milestone app, which is literally, you guys, our passion project. We've put all of our combined knowledge, thoughts. It's full of videos, pictures. There's a milestones checklist that you can check off as you go along. And then there's daily play activities with videos that you can do that shows like hands-on techniques that Sydney and I use. We have a bunch of it's free to download. There's a ton of free resources in there, like our full containers guide. There's like fuzz popping up. And then just like tummy time resources, how much tummy time you should be doing by 0 to 3 months, like at each age chunk, like,
and red flags to look for, or that we would look for that would prompt like you contacting a pediatrician.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thanks for coming on, Sydney. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, team.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.